reader, has a very cute accent, and I see her in the lounge from time to time. That's about all I know about her, but we have a very nice conversation. She smells pristine. Really nice. Melody Nixon.
First year reader, I'm entitled to bring a beer to the microphone. So. I'm going to read 3 pieces tonight, and the first 2 are sonnets, and the second is a short story, but they're all non-fiction, so kind of moving between the lines a little bit. And first I just want to say that Alex and Ray are doing a really great job with gallery. But they impose some quite stringent regulations on the readers, which I think that you should know about. So they impose this sort of dogmatic style preference, and it runs in priority from highest to least as funny, shocking, sexy, and depressing. So just to kind of invert that, I looked for the most depressing pieces I could find. So I'm going to start with one of those, and then I'm going to go even more depressing. Then I'll work my way back up. So my first piece is it's called a music poem. And it's about the fight that writers face with ourselves mostly to make writing a central focus in our lives. The aged writing woman. The chains she bought in a general shop from a wolf on sticks in a medium town, the day her throat was touched by her hand and named a name, throat. Each grey-scale chain metal link is moved with red, one tie on one leg she walks. Each grey chain link has touched her skin, each loop she's given name, for words she writes in clinking steps she treads her path towards. In time she'll go back to the wolf on sticks, return the grey-red moving links. Their charcoal metal will be placed on a shelf to be reattached to a price her throat will close in time. She'll remember her years of waiting to buy the right to write in words the chain links of her passing. Okay, my slightly more depressing piece is it's called A Voice, and it's for a writer who is currently a political prisoner in the US, and he's actually on death row. But I have a little note to myself here to not say who it is, or I might get raided by the FBI, or potentially mugged by the right wing, so you can ask, yeah. A Voice. I start and end my own story with footsteps, each step turning words like sounds in the air. Home. The rocky floors, marble, granite were a dialogue, watch words flung to every room's corner. On muffled floors, my footsteps could be understood by all who listened for the small. Here, in this place, in new shoes, I have another tongue and go quietly on rock and dead silent when the floors are muffled. Yet, whenever I walk on linoleum, the discordant sound deafens all around. I can hear myself in all corridors here. I still confess to walking. Alright, and my third piece, just going back up the Alex and Ray hierarchy of needs, it's a story, and it's called Sexy, Scary, Bitchy. And it's all true, apart from the part I made up, but did actually imagine that happening. Annie Prue is a bitch. Yes, a big old nasty bitch, says our professor as he lunges forward and grabs a biscuit from the coffee table. The biscuit is milky coloured with a jam filling. He ferrets it back towards his mouth and begins nibbling the outer rim. She wouldn't bloody talk to me, but that's because she's an old, snotty-nosed hag. He turns to stare at me. Marguerite Yasina is scary. What a scary woman. She was a lesbian. She lived with another woman. It's terrifying. He plunges the jam centre of the biscuit into his mouth. Then he stands up. The men in America veritably swagger when they walk, he says. Their enormous bums are the result of far too much dairy and McDonald's French fries. You see them walking through airports with their enormous bums and their swagger, as if they're just waiting for one of the Midwest horses that made this country to sort of shoot between their legs and kind of mount them from below. He bends over and gestures between his legs. Then he rises and looks around for his wine glass. He spots it next to his favourite student. Ooh, he says to her, watch how much I drink, okay? A picture of a woman one presumes is his wife, with two big-eyed children, lies hermetically sealed in a glass frame on his office wall. He refers to his wife once to relay a moment when he needed comfort and he was glad she was around. This was after he led a panel discussion with Annie Prue. That snotty-nosed, haughty bitch. And so our class begins for the day. We start discussing this week's text about the Habsburg Empire. Emperor Franz Joseph was an endearing type who infamously had time for his wife and valued her opinion. Eccentrically domestic, booms the voice of the professor in a swift 8-syllable denouncement of the Kaiser's obvious henpeckness. Domestic how, Professor? Domestic. So eccentric. He was so eccentric. Here he is getting shaved. Here he is staring out the window at, say, the garden. Just read. His castle is domestic. It's not ostentatious. He's eccentric. His favourite student giggles. He swivels his head towards her. You're my kind of girl, he actually says. We plunge on to page after page of stories of men conquering the world, nobility and gentility, servants and peasants, sex with slatterns, undulating fat rolls, and the abuse of wives. Marvellous, he says. I love this book. Yet bizarrely, the energy of the class fades. To revive us and restore our spirits, he reads his favourite passage from one of the great fascist texts of the Second World War. To aid our understanding of characterisation, he reads us a description of an overweight woman, which is as follows, and I paraphrase in the male narrative voice. The fat, trussed-up lady strains to be desirable beneath the roiling discomfort of her fat rolls in thick velvet clothing. As she leans towards the dinner table, breathing heavily and straining with her pudgy hand to reach a dish, I realise I am too far from her to stuff the food into her mouth myself, pudding after cream pie after custard cake, in the hope of suffocating her. Ingenious, announces the professor as he finishes reading. Listen to the description, it's so alive, he's a genius. Someone in the class pipes up, actually it's me.